There's usually quite a long process of research in my work because when I'm making works, I want to, in a way, not take the material for granted and to feel confident about what I'm making. It takes a long time to make work because, in a way, they're not just artworks, they're also a kind of research exercise, you could say, and the results of the research exercise produces the works.
Just like that. No, it's not the things you do that really hurts me bad, but it's the way you do the things you do to me. I'm not the kind of man who gives up just like that.
The three works você quer falar?
The leopard. This is Paradise on Marrow.
It's very linked to the rest of the space, so people can see parts of the installation when they are around the space.
I see, so you're making them boxes.
It's a box.
Why could it not be closed there?
O Isaac Julien, na verdade, é um artista que estava na minha lista de artistas com que eu quero trabalhar, queria trabalhar um dia desde 2004. Entre começar a trabalhar com Isaac, a abordagem e fazer ele aceitar o convite para fazer a exposição, isso foi um processo que durou aí uns 2 anos. A exposição é constituída de 4 grandes obras no espaço expositivo e uma seleção de filmes, dos filmes históricos do Isaac na televisão, usando a televisão como mais um espaço para a exposição. É um artista que tem uma excelência em trabalhar a narrativa em várias telas. É uma exposição que não é uma retrospectiva do Isaac, mas ela traz quase todas as obras dos períodos mais importantes do trabalho do Isaac. Então, uma exposição solo que desse conta da dimensão da sua pesquisa, não só do ponto de vista formal, mas das temáticas que ele traz. Um artista que consegue trabalhar com uma questão que diz respeito a uma identidade negra, mas também outros aspectos políticos do trabalho dele, a questão do multiculturalismo, diáspora.
Well, the preparation for this show at SESC Pompéia in Brazil has been an enormous undertaking. To show works to be displayed in this way is very unusual. The idea of having this open space, the use of the glass as a certain invitational space for the audience to participate. That one of the other things that came out really was trying to make an exhibition that would somehow have a strong connection to the architecture of the space. Phantom Creole and 10,000 Waves, it's edited more for the space, you know, to have gaps so you can see it,
between
the screens. I prefer if we tried to work with the artworks first and then the architecture or how you place it follows. So basically, the exhibitions are talking about 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
the whole length. Yeah. I'm just going to walk on it on this side because I think I need to see how people are reacting.
Eu tinha como uma premissa trabalhar o cinema do Isaac no espaço expositivo, que isso eu acho que é uma característica fundamental do trabalho dele, um aspecto extremamente relevante.
So we can put things here.
E a partir daí o diálogo com a arquitetura, com o arquiteto, que é o André Weiner, foi fundamental. O Isaac esteve aqui umas 2 vezes antes para olhar o espaço, entender como a exposição ficava, essas obras nesse espaço, conhecer esse ambiente.
I'm imagining that you go into rooms. I like the idea for people to be immersed in a installation. When people walk in, they're always going to be viewing this way, looking down. It's going to be better to have the biggest image furthest away, you know. But then it's quite a lot of space, isn't it? We should play the diagonal, it could be that way, or maybe we can do it that way, you know.
That way's going to reveal the other work, so you'll be able to see all of them.
Yeah. I like the idea of it being open, but maybe the transparent walls, so you can see into the spaces. So it means that you can walk into the space, and you can kind of, in a way, see them outside of the space. And I think that's quite nice. It gives it a kind of architecture, but you're working with the architecture through the invisible wall, so to speak. The connection between all the research that was made in terms of planning the exhibition, which was meticulous.
Ah, isso é genial. É tubo.
Yeah.
This is good idea. I like this. And you?
Yeah, I think it looks cool, yeah. One of the things that's very interesting, especially when you're thinking about moving image works or video art, is that people come to that work with a different sort of approach to if they were just in an exhibition. So I was thinking, like when I came into the space and it was sort of painted, I was thinking that in a way, maybe the installation needs to move like that. But we can physically do it, can't we? We'll be able to hold the screens, and hold them up and just see, In a way, I think that SESC and the model of trying to show works to a broader public is really the future for museums. But this is the same size screens that we had in San Diego.
Bigger.
These are bigger.
These are the same as the biggest screens in San Diego.
Oh, I see.
Same as the two big ones.
That's amazing to have acoustic tiles.
Yes, that's the point. It's very important because if not, it will be a disaster.
But I think this blue is, I mean, it always looks very gorgeous, the blue.
Yeah?
Yeah, always.
I'm so anxious to see with the screens. But I think it would be incredible to have this relation between rooms.
Phantom Creole is actually the combination of two works that I've made, which are free screen works. One called Phantom Afrique, which was shot in Burkina Faso, and the other work, True North, which was shot in Iceland. I was really interested in the idea of comparing and contrasting two different regions of the world, the North and the South, and how those can be, in a way, brought under certain visual scrutiny. The works were very much a meditation on two different narratives. One narrative was a meditation on Matthew Henson going to the North Pole in 1909, which is interpreted in modern day by Vanessa Mairy, who is the protagonist of the work in both pieces. In Phantom Afrique, Vanessa Mairy takes on a modern-day explorer as a black Westerner and goes to West Africa, and we follow her footsteps to various locations in Burkina Faso. The use of blue in True North and then the yellow base colours in Phantom Afrique make this sort of collision and kaleidoscopic interpretation of the planet, so to speak. And so lots of ideas connected to geopoetics because it's a very poetic interpretation of the landscapes. In The Leopard, which is the kind of work which is also shown in Geopoetica, it's a work which again is very much influenced by cinematic history. It's called The Leopard because it's borrowing Visconti's famous film, The Leopard. Visconti's film is about the Sicilian aristocratic classes being taken over by Italian nationalism, that Sicily and Italy will become one. There's a kind of mourning of this kind of losing of Sicilian identity in the work. What I was very interested in doing was really posing this question for Sicily today. It feels perhaps that its culture is being challenged by people moving from south to north, from North Africa to Sicily. And at the same time, it's a work that's looking at really Sicilian landscape and also looking at the broken boats in Lampedusa, which are kind of, if you like, sculptures for the new millennium. They're kind of there as these icons of the tragedy of the journey between south and north. In the Geopoetical show, we also have another work called Paradise Amoros. It's shot in the Caribbean, in St. Lucia, the island where my parents immigrated from when they came to Britain. One of the things in this work is that I'm very interested in the politics of identity and difference. Paradise Amoros is also an interpretation of Derek Wilcott's poem, Amoros.
I said, Omeros, and O was the conch shell's invocation. And Mer was both mother and sea, Os a grey bone and the white surf as it crashes and spreads its sibilant collar on a laced shore.
Amoros is really Greek for Homer. You have this theme of Homer looking for paradise and traveling. He comes to England. This question of love and hate and desire is quite complicated because he has a very confused identity in terms of where he is belonging. We come back and he is back in paradise again. One of the things around the work is this oscillation between time, between the present and the past. It's all shot in the 60s, trying to use color, costume, and set design, really trying to create this kind of mythical world where we are able to sort of think about these questions of movement and what movement does to people who kind of migrate or travel from south to north and back again. So there's this continuous movement in the work.
Every man wants you to.
This work is very much looking at Europe, but from a South perspective.
I'm not the kind of man who gives up just like that. No.
For 10,000 Waves in the exhibition, it's a completely new interpretation of how we install the work, because every time we install the work, we install the screens according to the architectural space that we find the work being exhibited in.
在为母亲善。
For this installation, the screens are larger than they've ever really been shown in any exhibition in the world.
Our souls scattered across the ocean.
It's a space which is very generous, and so we've tried to work with the architecture of the space in the placement of the screens. In this installation of 10,000 Waves, we've been able to really bring out some different qualities in the installing of the work. And so it's very exciting to us to be showing the work in Brazil for the first time and to have this correlation between my earlier works and the newest work. And we can see certain themes, I think, which are connected to them. The use of water, movement.
Omatu. Mother of mercy, please shine your light on the murky sea.
In this work, it's meant to deliberately confuse how you're meant to be viewing. I mean, the thing is that you can move anywhere and view from any position in the work. And so the whole idea is that you're meant to be able to sort of experience the whole work. And to experience the whole work, in a way, you have to keep moving. I see my work as being involved in what I call post-cinema. They're using the codes of cinema and narratives, but trying to do something else with them. This work is a choreography which is edited in a kind of notational, like a musical notational kind of structure. The use of music in it is very important in the work. It's the main narrative drive of the work. These works are a kind of poetry. The title, Geopoetica, in a way summarizes the fact that these images and narratives are to be read as a poem. We're used to the idea of poems in popular culture through music. Even if we hear rap songs, they're like poems. But we're not so accustomed to seeing images being treated in the same aesthetical manner, being treated as poems. So in that sense, it makes fantastic sense for it to be next to the library, because in a way this is a kind of interpretation of language in this kind of more visual sense that's connected to language. hopefully in this collaboration, there can be a real exchange between the works and the general activities of people who come to SESC Pompéia, because of course they come to do different activities and different things. What's amazing about Pompéia is how many people come.
No, it's all day like this. It's full of people. This is great.
They don't just come to see art, but maybe art can be introduced to them in the everyday life rather than it being a special moment. They can just be part of the activities. It's a very egalitarian approach, a utopian approach. They can do it in a kind of leisurely way and also come to the works repeatedly. I'm very interested in what's going to materialize in this exhibition. I think in this space, because people are involved in their daily activities, then in a way art can become part of life. There has to be a new interpretation of how artworks can then be presented. And so I think that this is a very novel new approach.
Essa questão de você estar no lugar que é um lugar de encontro, é um espaço de convivência, é um lugar que garante a permanência do público no espaço com esses dispositivos, a própria biblioteca, a sala de leitura, as pessoas vêm para ficar aqui o dia todo. Ela não precisa sair desse lugar que ela está, confortável, que ela reconhece, que ela identifica, para poder ser afetada, claro que positivamente, pelas obras, pela exposição, pelo trabalho do Isaac.
The curator from Tate Modern, Tanya Barson, looked at the exhibition and said she's never ever seen moving image works exhibited in this nature. Most video works, when they're installed, are installed in spaces which are usually kind of dark and enclosed. There's not an easy correlation between one work and the other work. So I think in this it was really quite ambitious to try to make a new, bold interpretation of how moving image works can be installed.
Yon, de, trois, quatre, cinq, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
What we see as moving images in culture generally is quite a narrow perspective. It is generally quite conservative. It's quite connected to stories which are the same stories that get repeated time and time again, which exclude many other types of stories and narratives and visual information. For me, it's important that people have access to those ways of looking at works. And in an environment like this, I think it gives a chance for these other sorts of stories and images to come to the surface.